All right, this is Ruben Lowing. This is my leadership talk for today. Last night, there was a special Zoom with Schwan Wynn, and he's been doing this same, showing the bubble chart and matching up, and so what that tells me is when you are, when you are getting out there and talking to people, and you're propping your head up, saying, "Okay, I want to do this." All right, the Calvary comes to your aid. Okay, they will jump on it, and you just got to keep putting people in front of your leaders. Okay, and so it's when Schwan Wynn did this during the G Summit. I prayed really hard, and okay, help me think. And the first thing that came to me as he's showing this, okay, this guy's doing this, go help him. This guy's got his license, go help him. Okay, and what it showed me, it was like throwing seeds in the field, but not watering or fertilize them until they start to come up. Okay, now that sounds kind of negative, but what really is, it says that when you stick your head up and you're like, okay, I'm doing this, all right, I'm gonna do, what I'm supposed to do, all right, the Calvary comes, right? Now, this is the flip side of that. So I recruited, guy's a millionaire, a couple different ways. He got $1 million from the, doing futures trading. And then he's got a trust fund, okay, from the family, and he's getting, but he pays a lot of taxes, right? And he's listened to what I'm doing, and he came on board with me, right? And then he didn't do nothing, right? And didn't want to tune into the Zoom calls, right? But he recruited a waitress or a restaurant manager, and she got after it as far as doing everything. She's getting the training to get her license. She got her username and ID for the website, and she just taking copious notes on the Zoom meetings, and just very coachable, very very much letting and she's very studious as far as her learning. Okay, and that got him off the stick. He did the same thing with his website. So I got them, both of them texting me, about how to get their username and password and get the counter set up and all that. All right, and then this guy sits down at the restaurant and pulls out, sends me. So he's got a list of like 1,600 names. And he's given me 60 to this point, and I've got 15 in the counter for him. Okay, and we're going to try to get him 30 today, between today and tomorrow. Okay, and so but what this guy is seeing is kept recruiting people that he can feed the business to. Okay, and I'm like, who does that, right? Well, this guy sees how he can run his business that way, because he does, and he told me, I don't want to sit down with across the kitchen table. I want the big deals. I'm like, okay, well, this is what you can do. You give the mom and pop to your recruits, feed them, and you go get the big ones. All right, and I'll help you, right? But this is the thing. Who'd have thought? All right, so get your license. Start talking to people and bring the Calvary. All right. And the second thing is, I've seen 2 videos today. One was from 3 days ago, and this guy's in England. He's talking about the U.S. stock market is just like unattached to reality, all right, and it's taken off like crazy. Okay, and then the other one's saying, okay, we're in a downward trend. If this next peak isn't as high as the last peak, then that shows that the overall trend is going down. And when that happens, theoretically, the market's going to crash. But the thing that they're not taking into account, and 10 years ago, Paul Dietrich was chairman of Foxhall Capital, came to San Diego, and in 2009, 2008, 2009, started talking about what's happening in the market. He says there's going to be a bifurcation. And what he meant by that is there's going to be some businesses that take off and other ones are going to fall off the face of the earth. And the main factor is their level of debt, okay? Because advisors like him and people that manage for pension funds and hedge funds, they don't want to take any risk. And so they're looking at companies that have low need for financing, they don't have, they're not running on credit. Okay, they have enough, they have reserves, and they don't have to borrow money because they're all worried about the banking system. All right, so then the end of last year, beginning of this year, the repo crisis. You didn't hear a lot about it on the news. You heard it on social media and Facebook. YouTube. But what it was, and I'm thinking, okay, what this bank repurchase operation. So nightly, banks lend each other money so they can have enough in reserve to meet the Fed requirements. And what happened was the big banks like Chase and Barclays stopped participating. I'm thinking that it was residual leftover toxic mortgage assets from 2008, but those have pretty much been diluted, and they've repossessed the houses, resold them, and they took their haircut, and that's pretty much over, right? Well, the next, what it was as of January this year, China stopped buying internal combustion engine automobiles. And Ford, GM, and Chrysler, the U.S. automakers, started making electric cars to compete with Tesla. Okay? And to be able to sell to China. And so these big banks were worried that the values of these internal combustion engine automobiles was going to go upside down, and people were going to owe more than they're worth, and they were going to park them along the side of the highway and put their keys up over the visor and walk away like they did their houses in 2008, right? And that was the reason for the pullout, okay? And so the banking, our banks aren't logical. They're worried about all kinds of little things like the wind blowing, right? And so what these companies did, they started just staying on the gas and buying up their own stock. Why? Because if the banks go under, all right, the banks stop giving credit, okay, they won't need the banks. They can either sell stock or borrow against their own stock, right? And that's how they'll have capital. Okay, so when the market's gonna go, it might go down a little bit, but it's gonna come back. Okay, because they're gonna buy it on sale, no matter how and they're just gonna hoard their own stock. Okay, there's gonna come a time, and it'll be when the banks start getting tight with their credit. All right, then they'll start liquidating stock. Okay, and that's when you'll start seeing, the market trending down until the banks get it back together. Okay, the banks are taking too much risk. The banks are doing, what people do when they get older and they realize they haven't saved enough money, and they stay taking undue risk because they're trying to play catch up. And I did exactly that, and that's why, That's what happened to me. And now, I got my IUL. I got a floor, right? And my money's not going anywhere. I am not worried. Okay, but there's all kinds of things happening that are making people uncertain, which is why the financial education that we offer is so valuable. Okay. All right, so that's my leadership talk for today, and I hope you got a lot out of it. All right, have a great one.